Hey, what is up guys? It's Arne and welcome to this week's video. Good to have you here again. This time around we're coming back to one of my favorite topics to talk about, workflow optimization. So here are my 5 top tips to improve your workflow in Adobe After Effects. For this list I dug out some of those things that I feel like are shared too little here on YouTube. And I'm not talking keyboard shortcuts here, but actual functions and tools for you to use. Well, actually that's a lie, because the first tip actually is a keyboard shortcut, but it's just too good to let it pass. So here's my tip number 5, moving layers in the hierarchy system. With any layer selected in After Effects, simply hold down Alt and Control or Option and Command and hit arrow keys up or down to push the selected layer around in the layer hierarchy. This of course also works with multiple layers at the same time. So here are another quick 2 hotkeys. You probably know that while holding down Ctrl or Command and using the arrow keys, you can switch to select to neighboring layers, right? But did you know that while holding Shift as well, you can select multiple layers? So hold down Ctrl and Shift or Command and Shift with the arrow keys to select a range of layers and now push them around with your newly acquired keyboard shortcut. Okay, and I promise you this is all the keyboard shortcuts you will hear from me in this video. Okay, let's get to number 4, added values. While I mean this in a general manner, there's one way to use added values in a very unique way, and I think only very few people actually know about this. Open up Layer Scale property, right-click and choose Added Values to open up this window. Now, why is this interesting? In here you can actually set a specific pixel value to set the layer scaling. While that honestly is not such a revelation when it comes to shape layers, as you can simply set the dimensions anyways, but it is another thing for things like images or video files. You just might run into a situation where external files need to be of an exact dimension for one reason or another. And doing that with guidelines and scaling and all of that is super annoying to do. So now, when you find yourself in set position, you know what to do. Honestly, I hardly ever used this one, but you never know when you're gonna need it, and next time you do need it, you know how. You're welcome. Okay, next up, number 3, centering the anchor point. Now, yeah, this is a pretty basic one, but there is a hidden function in After Effects that maybe you haven't heard about. Natively, when you create a new shape layer, After Effects will position the layer's anchor point in the center of the composition. More often than not, you actually need this anchor point in the center of the shape layer itself. You can of course use the Set Anchor Point tool, hold down Ctrl or Command and make it snap to the center. But why even make that step? Simply go into your After Effects preferences by going to Edit, Preferences, and under General, just activate Center Anchor Point in New Shape Layer. Now every time you create a new shape layer, your anchor point will be centered in the middle of that shape. Let's get to tip number 2 on this week's list. Use custom effect presets. Now I actually did a separate and dedicated video on this topic, so if you haven't seen that one, you can click up here and go and watch that video. After this one, of course. But yeah, I think it is a too important tool to not include on my list. I mean, this is an essential part of my workflow. It might be different for you, but at least now you can check it out and see if it works for you. There are probably a couple of effects that you are using regularly and in a very similar way as well. For me, that is the case with something like the Trim Paths effect or a basic Gaussian blur. I would really encourage you to create your own custom effect presets. To do so, simply highlight the effect you are looking to save. Well, after you applied the animation, of course. Go to Animation and click Save Animation Preset. Save your presets to this path. And next time you open up After Effects, you're good to go to use them. So here we are, last but not least, my number 1 and final tip for this week's video. Use third-party plugins, scripts and tools. I actually can't stress enough how important it is to implement these into your workflow. I mean, not gonna lie, when I started out I had this crazy belief that in order to do a good and creative job, you had to do everything by hand. I mean, every keyframe, every expression, just every step necessary. Well, the truth is, that's a whole lot of bullshit. There is an endless range of tools to improve your workflow. I mean, these guys are there to help you, so you can focus more on what truly matters in this field of business: your creative output and, if applicable, your client relationships. Well, and there you have it. My top 5 tips to improve and optimize your workflow in Adobe After Effects. Which tip was most interesting to you? And also, which tip or tool did you miss on this list? Let me know in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you aren't already, and ring that bell for a new video every week. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!